Hello. Hi. Yeah. I've been working out more. I'm gonna do some big bench press, and Al's downstairs. I'm gonna bring the Oh my gosh. Good gosh. Holy mackerel. Holy mackerel. Let's go down and see Al. Let's go down and see Al. I just did the bench press. Get this stuff out of the way. Holy mackerel. I kind of ate whatever food I felt like and drank some alcohol for 2 months or so. There's a new art on there. Whoa. I got that new light thing. The lights didn't look as good. Hey, Miriam Mousa. Miriam Mousa. Mousa. Miriam Mousa. He's in there. He's in there. No, not in there.
I would say yes, they both are crazy, that same. Yeah, they look similar, yeah. And I love Ozzy. No one said that. No. Oh yeah, we're going to do a good one tonight.
We're doing one now. You want to start it now?
We're doing one now.
You want to start your story on the crone?
No,
the little crone one that new one that you want to do?
Well, I was going to talk about what it takes to be a clone or druid or any of that stuff, because I get all these Gmails. I really am
hey
with all the Gmails.
Oh man, nice. Lifted weights.
Like you. And there was, yeah, and you want to really fuck it up. But yes, but it's right on, because that's how most people see their life, as the shadow against the wall.
Hi.
You know. And that was,
hey, that was cool.
And that's like the cave paintings are that.
How's it going?
Did you see the one that I did about my trip through Australia? No. I'll look at that. Right. And I went to
you might want to take on East of the Druids. There was this psychedelic pop guy from the 80s, 90s named Julian Cope.
Oh, yeah.
He's very interesting.
Yeah.
Instead of referring to people as hey dude,
right?
Say hey druid.
Yes, a druid. I like it. Yes, I like it. Because I call
each other druid.
Yes, druid.
Get the spirit going.
Yeah. Because I had buddies in New York. You know, there's big Irish community in New York, and there's a big bunch of Irish poets there. So there were bards and druids, and they'd always, and a good half of them were guys I went to shrink college with, and they were the more fun guys. They dropped out early. I said, screw this, I'm just going to be a druid and a bard and do poetry.
Oh, man.
Because, you get access to more cute chicks that way. And the guys who stayed in the shrinkydom were all about control. That was the whole reason for doing it. Oh, we lost him.
He's on.
Anyway, so...
how are you doing? Hanging out in the corner by yourself, but
looking at that
electronically, and for the internet, you're with someone.
On the phone.
You want to just do the video, or can you call?
Oh, here's another one.
The people are calling from the.
How you doing?
Oh.
Yep. Yes, up here on the mountain. The cell tower is not too far away, so you either got 5 bars or you lose.
He's on the phone.
You know?
Gosh. I'm a pair of 3X shorts just like mine. Or shorts just like mine.
Here, I'm going to try them on
No,
right now.
you are?
Yes.
See, I've got mine on here.
I'm going to take my pants
No,
off.
no, no.
Yeah,
I'm a pair of 3X shorts just like mine. Or shorts just like mine.
Here, I'm going to try them on
No,
right now.
you are?
Yes.
Please.
Here, I'm going to change.
No, I think he's really changing. I don't know if what he's doing. I'll run out of here if you're joking. Okay.
I'm the jokester. Yes.
You want me to go in the other room and you can change? No, somebody's on the phone.
It's cold, John. I'm waiting for the warmth to wear.
But you can. Those are the amazing shorts I got, just like mine.
I'll wear them another time, but not now. It's too cold. It's still. Right now it's springy. Today was, you know how they call it, spring has sprung. Really did. Yesterday there was nothing on the trees. Now everything's turning into leaves. You know, it did it in the last.
New stuff, yeah.
So, has it hit spring yet?
You want to talk to everybody?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, but that's the desert. I lived in the desert, and even in the. Right. Yeah. So, you know, I lived there, and even in the summertime, the nights could get cold. Clothes on.
Right.
Whenever.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, you're in the desert. I was a lineman, and the only time, you know that scene from Gene Shepard's Christmas Story where he gets his friend to put his tongue on the flagpole and it gets frozen?
No.
Well, there was a guy named Gene Shepard who was a radio host who was brilliant. He could tell stories better than me. I mean, where I learned my toy selling is from indigenous people, and look up Gene Shepard. Here's another guy who was. So there, when I was a kid, there was Gene Shepard, Big Wilson, and a Jewish guy who was like Art Bell. I mean, he was the first guy to really talk about the paranormal on radio, like in the 50s and 60s. I mean, he was the first time I heard Betty and Barney Hill was on his show. So, and it was late at night. I mean, late at night. I used to do a radio show, a couple radio shows. I was a jock. I did one in Worcester, Massachusetts, and spun records. And my boss, it used to be a Christian radio station, and his father died. He came from Berkeley.
The restaurant.
To run
the restaurant was okay.
The radio station and a Krispy Kreme. He had a Krispy Kreme, and that's what we got paid in: coffee and donuts. And so I did that for about 6 months because I had no place to live, and I would sleep on the floor. And you know, I had learned how to run a board. You know, learned how to be a jock. Yeah. And then the next place I worked with was WBAI in New York, which is a Pacifica radio station. You ever hear of Pacifica when you were in California?
Oh yeah. I listened to.
Right. So there was a station.
Jammed.
Yep.
They had an antenna down in Tijuana.
Right.
And they were going on about 9/11, and they claimed that
Hey.
they jammed.
Yeah,
in order to pick it up, even though it was only like 70 miles away.
Exactly.
Hey, Courtney.
Really difficult to hear it.
Hi.
Yep. So it was, I worked with them in New York, and I worked with this guy named Bob Fast, another guy named Steve Post, and they were like hard edge, you know, not quite anarchists, but they hated everything.
Gosh.
And I was the guy who loved everything, right? And they were on, you know, one guy had 3 hours before me, the next guy was the next 3 hours, and I had like from 8 o'clock midnight. And when I used to have these salons. And that's what are there any salons where you are? I would think that.
Oh, I'm sure, but they're not going to invite me in.
No, if I ever come to your place to bring the circus to your neighborhood, we should start a salon. Are there any cheap real estate in Santa Fe, like in the bad side of town or downtown.
Who would buy it?
Used to be, or
You couldn't buy it.
kind of stuff.
It'd have to be $3,000.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes cheap is what you can afford.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's increasing as we speak.
Yes, we speak. Yes. I mean, it was increasing when I left in 1971. I mean, I didn't really like Santa Fe. You know, I actually liked Albuquerque better because it was more of a mix of everybody.
Oh, the necro.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. And music. They had great music in Albuquerque.
I like Albuquerque too. I feel more free there. Like, this is a small town. There's a lot of rich people that have their third home here.
Right, exactly.
They only spend a few time here. But
John, be careful with those 100-pound dumbbells. Don't get yourself a hernia. Oh, I'm fine. I'm okay.
yeah.
So yeah, so Santa Fe was. I told you that story where we were there with this dance company, Robert Whistling Dance Company, and we were all like, "Hey, the people!" And then Robert left,
Healthy again.
and I got thrown out like that evening.
All right, kind of.
You still there? Did I lose you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
And you know, the guy was talking out both sides of his mouth. Oh yes, the people. And then when you know the boss, you know the groovy dude left, and I was on his couch. He said, "Get out." So I don't have any money. Your problem. How about $10? I mean, this guy was well heeled. You know, he had a nice house with a big fence around it, and blah blah blah. So did you ever get over to where that Italian guy had all those earth houses built with tot? Yeah. How about now? You hear me now?
Hey,
Anybody, you go? Did I lose you? Ooh,
you might want to
still
talk to
there?
the audience.
you still there?
Okay.
Well, audience, I don't know. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Here we are in the kitchen. Let's see, do I have my glasses?
I don't know.
Here are my glasses. Right over here, so I can read what people are saying. Oh, people are saying a lot of stuff. What are they saying? You, owl, hi, hey. Deep thoughts. Let's have some deep thoughts, kids. Come on.
I got Al a pair of pants just like mine.
Yes. Look
I
at
got Al.
Look.
I got Al a pair of pants just like mine.
Hail Satan.
Oh my God.
You gotta feel sorry for Satan. He really is. I mean, he was
Well,
God's chosen one, the
they believe in
illuminated
good-
one.
The Satanists believe in good and evil, so it's not all evil.
No, they don't. They just
I'm
believe
not-
in themselves.
I haven't been
It's a
into
very
it.
selfish kind of thing.
I don't like the evil.
And you know, folk there
As-
constantly asking me what
different.
book to read. You know, there's really
nature, the instinct to sin, to be bad to others.
no. That's
That-
sorry. There is no
that's
nature
feel
to.
happy.
You can't nature. There is no nature to sin. You know, that is an illusion. You know, it's easy to sin, but that's not our natural state. Meaning, if it was our natural state, we wouldn't be here anymore. We would be toast, but we're not. So, holy mackerel, kingfish.
Oh, no, yeah.
Sun is an illusion. Hi. So tonight you're going to talk on being a crone. Yep. Gonna do that. Yep.
We're going to talk about the crone somewhere in this video.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about
We
the
could
crone.
go out
Watch tonight. No, we're not going out tonight,
With
John.
me-
We already went out, and you didn't want to be out.
Oh,
So
you're right.
there's no necessity to do that. Yes, more crone stories. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that tonight. What's this one? How could you expand on mystic properties of Tennessee? Okay. Well, you have to realize it's the mountains. The Blue Ridge Mountains are the oldest mountains on the planet. They've been around, and the mountains that are with us now are the foundation. And these mountains used to be taller than Everest, but now the ridge that goes from Georgia to upstate New York, the Blue Ridge Mountains, those are very powerful. And so,
You want to film outside?
I'm good here. You know, they can see
Can
my.
I run outside and do something?
Sure, you can go outside and do
I'm gonna run outside. I'm gonna run outside and do something. I'm gonna run outside and do something. This is gonna be fun. I'm gonna run up the mountain and I'm gonna yell. Wait. I'm gonna run up the mountain, up way up there, and I'm gonna yell and have it echo out. Take out the garbage. Oh God, you're all right. Yeah. The garbage bags must be upstairs. Mm-hmm. The garbage bags are upstairs, and he started. Oh, I don't even want to think about it, but it's we should go. We have to walk all the way, have to bring the garbage all the way down the hill or something. I'm gonna go run a screamer. Oh my God. Okay, John W. Figuratively, not literally, of course. I'm gonna run up there. Oh, it is beautiful out here. Leave the camera. Wait. I'm gonna do this. Run. Yell at the top of it. Here's a campsite. Thanks. It's beautiful, yeah. There's the house down there. Here's a campsite. Whoa. He's telling me to scream. Okay. What? Who wants to, okay, I gotta think of the right thing to say. See if I can yell like I'll just yell like Tarzan. Okay. I screamed like Tarzan. Oh man, yeah, no. Going down the hill. Oh my God, this is amazing. Probably. Whoa. Hi. Do you want to go somewhere and do your whole speech, your whole crone, how to be a crone?
We're doing that tonight. So anyway, yes, I did read your thing. Yes, and the last wave. Can you hear me now?
Come on, be on the camera. Okay. All right. Turned that on. Oh man. Okay. Hi. We're gonna do the unless he wants to start talking.
How about that? Okay, try another time. Yeah, try another time.
Who's that?
Another time, my friend. Okay?
Thanks, man.
When I have better
You want to talk on the thing?
talk, 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 talk on the thing, talk on the thing, talk on the thing, talk on the thing.
You want to tell a story? You're tired of it. Are you tired of it? Tonight. Okay, tonight then we'll tell a story. 7:30. You'll tell the story tonight.
By the fireplace.
Oh, yeah.
Around the circle.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to go then. Unless you have something else you want to talk about.
Oh, I have to think.
Okay. So he's going to tell his story tonight at 7:30. There's Santa Claus owl on the wall. Santa Claus owl. Thanks very much. What I did was I just started exercising more and I stopped eating as much food and alcohol. It's the weight training that physically can get you in shape, like into almost any shape if you work at it. It strengthens tendons, joints, almost everything if it's done carefully in the right way, in proper form and everything. Okay, yeah, I could not get abs when I was younger until I was like 25. Until I was 25, and then I did the weight training. That was like the only way to do it, to get in really good shape. The strength training is what they call it. So, okay. Oh man, so we're gonna go. If he'll do a show later. He's gonna do a show. Tell us what the video is gonna be about briefly. Something about the crone, right?
No.
How to be a crone.
You want me to tell?
Okay. You.
This evening's conversation is going to be a class on being mindful, because to be, I get all these Gmails. What books should I read? How can I do this or do that? And I was just talking to a fellow friend, and she was going on about the YouTube about Australia, and she said she looked at it and it said 3 hours, and she was like, I don't want to watch this thing for 3 hours. So she put it off, and then one evening she decided, okay, I'll watch it. And she realized that the 3 hours were like a full course of what it was about dream time and how it worked. And the storyline of that. So she was talking about how she saw the movie The Last Wave, which is a good movie to go watch, kids. Yeah. And because that big wave I was telling you about is, the last wave, the last one of those. And what caused it, and it was all about the energy of materialism and unconsciousness, and the conscious mindfulness of dream time. And that movie explains it very well. And then there's a book called The Mutant Message from Down Under, which was the story about how I kept getting this message about the Aborigines before I even knew. I mean, that's kind of why I told the story of Neil and how we met and all of that, even though people on the screen kept saying, what about this? And John kept saying, tell the story about the Aborigines. And I was telling the story of the Aborigines. And my friend said, so she watched the whole 3 hours, and she realized that it wasn't like, oh my God, I gotta watch 3 hours. It was the whole story, and that the flow of the story, she said it went by like that, and that she got more information about all of the dynamics of dream time and all of how it's planetary and solar system and universal, and she thanked me, etc. But it filled in a lot of holes between the things that she was reading. So people who go to me, what book should I read? It's not so much the books you need to read, but the life you need to live, and that is a mindful life. And so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And I'm going to be talking about the different teachers I had. who taught me how to have a mindful life. And they were teaching me, and everybody in my classes, the other people who I was there, they were there because they wanted to be the best at this or that, the best healer, the best shaman, the best martial artists, without realizing to do any of those things you had to be mindful. And if you go look at all the great scientists, artists, and creators of anything, they were all mindful. And that's where they got the message from. It's like the mutant message from down under. And all creators have that. And the poor people who want to be there but can only think about being the rock star or the person in front of the camera.
But you're in front of the camera.
Yeah, but I don't think about it.
Somebody said, have you remote viewed?
Oh, yeah.
What is remote viewed?
Remote viewing is, again, a mindful technique. Back in the day when I was at Duke University in 1968, that is when DARPA, when it was ARPA, Advanced Research Programs for the Defense Department, had come from California, had come from JPL, and from this thing called from the SEAL Corporation. And what they were looking to do was make super soldiers, because they had certain paperclip scientists, Nazis, who had been studying why did the Nazis go to Tibet and to India. What they were looking for was the power of the guru, of the power of the master, who could put, and there were these guys who could put swords through their cheeks and then pull them out, and those cuts would heal within minutes, right? And they could, do all kinds of things to themselves, but because they were mindful and had total control of their bodies, they didn't die, or, but they had a hole through each cheek, and within minutes, you couldn't tell where it was. So they wanted, the Nazis did anyway, wanted to learn that and find a protocol that they could teach their soldiers how to be, withstand cold and pain and that was the SS. The SS put, they had 20, 30, 100,000 of these guys, soldiers, the Waffen SS, to be super soldiers, right? To go through anything, so 20 of them was worth 1,000 Polish soldiers or 400 English soldiers. I mean, how did they go from Germany all the way down to France in less than a couple of months, and the whole lightning war. And so ARPA or DARPA or the Defense Department wanted to develop super soldiers. So they were studying paranormal psychology at Duke. And I just kind of stumbled in there, and I had been at the Theosophical Society and with the U.S. Psychotronic Society and a few other esoteric institutes where we were developing apparati, machines. So you wouldn't have to be, I can't meditate, which is fairly easy, kids. All you got to do is breathe 20% more and breathe out 30%, and you can meditate. It puts you right into that meditative state. Or hypnagogic state, and that's what these things work on certain microwave frequencies that are the same as our brain. These things can download our psyche into a certain, and that's why they were produced. I mean, this technology is so way more sophisticated than anything else we have in the business cycle, So bottom line, remote viewing is the process of, the near-death experiences, NDE. So people have car accidents or heart attacks or things like that, and they die, but they don't die, and they're resuscitated. And bottom line is you leave your body, and some people float, and then when you die, you kind of float out of your body, and you see that, and you realize, okay, the body's there, and your consciousness still is around, and you realize that, in that experience, that you aren't your body, you aren't your body. Your body, is just an avatar for your consciousness. And your consciousness is off someplace. And remote viewing is being able to control yourself going into that space. And when you're in that space, you're no longer in linear experience. You're in a total, as Jung would say, collective unconscious. So you can go into anybody's space. You can go into anybody's office, look into any drawer, because you don't have a body to drag along. And you can just be there because there is no linear.
How do we get into that state?
Again.
Is it related to dream time? Like we get in that state and we can...
Yeah, but you have to be mindful. You have to be conscious.
Yeah, it's all related to meditation.
Yes, and being mindful. But
and you've been able to visit people who have passed away in your life and see where they are.
Yep. When my mom, well, a lot of people who I was close to, and I was a EMT, right, for a fire department, upstate New York, and most of our responses were either heart attacks at this, trailer park that was not too far from the firehouse, or this where two interstates, instead of having a clover leaf, it X'd. So big trucks would run over little cars. And so at least 5 times a week, we'd go scrape people off of the interstate. Because it was only about 8 miles from our house. And so my job, because I lived right across from the firehouse, one day I saw all these pretty girls going into this building, and so I walked over there and said, "Girls, what's going on?" And they said, "Oh, we're a volunteer fire department. You want to join?" And there were 35 women and 8 guys. And the women were between the ages of 20 and 35. And I said, "Sign me up." So since I lived across the street from the firehouse, they said, "You should be the guy who drives the truck." I said, "Sounds like a good idea." So they sent me off to fireman school, and I was trained to drive a truck, be an EMT, and a first responser, meaning I could put in lines, I could do a lot of medical things, but what I was best at was talking to people. So majority of the things we dealt with were guys with heart attacks who were dying, and people were trying to spark them back alive, but you kind of had to distract them, like, "Hey, stay with me, buddy, look into my eyes, breathe, breathe, breathe." And, when they hit you with the panels, don't freak out. Yeah, it's going to feel like you're electrocuted, but hey, we're bringing you back. So that was my real job, was to talk to them, to keep them mindful, right? And so you're trying to cut a guy out. So you show up on scene, a car has just been run over by a 18-wheeler and it's crushed, and there's a guy in there, and the car is like that thin, and he has the driving post right through his chest. Well, that post has gone through his lung, but missed his heart and missed a number of his major arteries and veins. So he's still alive, but he's bleeding out. So we got to cut him out of that car within 30 minutes and get him to the hospital, or he's dead.
Don't talk too graphically because the YouTube rules.
Okay. Anyway, so it's kind of like being in war. But my main job was to be there, and to be with those guys. I mean, the other people who were EMTs too, they were taking care of the medical thing. And my thing was to keep them mindful of where they were, what they were doing, and distract them from that pain. Because there were a lot of times when we couldn't, knock them out or they'd be dead. They had to kind of stay awake. And when someone is being cut out of a car, and they got chunks of...
What did you say? When who's being cut out of a car?
The person who's in the accident.
But you didn't say when John is, did you?
No, I said when you are, meaning the person in the car.
But no one else?
No.
In particular?
In particular.
You're speaking figuratively?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a tough deal. So that was pretty much for 2.5 years, that was my job. So I experienced, I would get people into mindfulness and I would be there with them.
People treated me back, kind of mean to me out there in the world. So sometimes I assume that even about some of my closest friends. And I was like my best friend now, that's a man other than the mother of my children. But anyway, okay, you want to tell your story and I'll just go and trust that you because I have to kind of make sure it's YouTube legal. Don't curse too much. Don't say anything too against the YouTube rules. You know, and just go and talk to them for a long time. It might run out. You're gonna have to plug it in. I'll plug it in.
Anyway, so I would be there with those guys in a higher state of consciousness. And when they died, I'd be there with them. And I could see where they were going, you know? And I would like comfort them and say, don't worry about it. It's all going to be good, you know? Because most people, when they die, they have no one there to be with them. And it's a great honor, and we try to shepherd folk. And so that's what I did for 3 years. So I got to be very good at being in state and to be, a near-death experience without having to physically be, hurt. And I've died about 6 times, meaning I've had that experience on the other, where I'm not just tagging along. So anyway, that's kind of what remote viewing is. You get into what is known getting into state, and you can then travel anywhere. You visualize, usually in remote viewing, the person who does the remote viewing gets a site, a location, and a what to look at. And and you may not even have been there. It's not a place that you can, but they actually give you an address. And that gives a context to your subconscious that allows you, when you go into state, to go to that place, the physical place, that address. And so that's kind of what remote viewing is. And the Chinese were pretty amazing because in the old days, back, they had these technologies. These technologies are ancient. They're not new. It's just they get rediscovered. And how we, the Europeans, the English, the German, the English, the Americans, found out was during World War I and World War II, because we had a lot of people who experienced great trauma and survived because the medical abilities were up to keeping them alive. And there's a thing called the Tavistock Institute that was set up in England to study that, and out of that came propaganda and advertising. So everything about advertising is about capturing your subconscious and making you buy things. But it puts you into a hypnagogic state. That's what advertising does. Put you in why do you buy all that crap? Because you're hypnotized to buy it, Why would you buy, antiperspirant, which is spraying aluminum into your pores? Why would you? I mean, really, you don't even need to take showers. I mean, all the indigenous people I hung out with, they never showered. They jump into water if there was any every now and then and squeegee off. But other than that, not really. So, let's see. Okay. Anything you send me on my Gmail, thedudeawake42, I will always read. And I will always kind of respond, maybe not immediately, but as soon as possible. Why do these things go away? Let's see. Yeah, television is also, and flat screens are even worse because they're these little LED things that go straight into your brain. They now have LED lights, like you go into a store and they have these strip lights that are LEDs. They are pumping in buy, consume messages, And have any of you seen the movie They Live? Well, that's where we are. I mean, that, that was a pretty amazing film. And pretty much all films are pretty amazing. They're there. I mean, the powers that be have to kind of give us the message of what it is. And when we watch the movie, we tacitly kind of say okay, like, okay, guys, see my eyes? See how this one is really messed up? Well, that is from all the years I worked on energetic things, and it attached itself to that side of my head, of my brain, which is this side over here. And so, I have certain parts of me downloaded all the time because of that. And the only way that I can keep from being a automaton is to be a mindful person all the time. And the only way I can keep myself from being captured is, being a loving, I use the 5 tools: humility, patience, empathy, forgiveness, healing. And people go to me, how can you be so patient? I come answer what you do. No, it's what I have to do. And if you want to be a shamanic person or an alchemist or a bard or a druid or a crone, you have to be that mindful person. Where is the soul? Well, that's a good question. I really think that our bodies are avatars and our soul is in some server out in Nevada someplace. Well, extraterrestrials, we are the children of the extraterrestrials. You look at us compared to any other species on the planet, we are the aliens, right? So if you go look at the pre-Sumerian texts, you'll find that there's stories about Enki and the Nephilim and all of that, and they were basically guys from other solar systems that came to create us. They found, did you ever see 2001? Arthur C. Clarke and the guy who did The Shining and what's his name? I always forget that guy's name. Stanley Kubrick. Anyway, that film is great. Beginning of the film, there are the monkeys around the water hole, and this group of monkeys who are bigger kind of pushes away the smaller guys, and they go away in a sulk. And that night he's looking at the moon and going, and he turns around and there's the monolith, and it's woo, and he goes over and touches it, and bingo, he becomes a different species. He is now, instead of pre-hominin, he is a Homo sapien sapien. And that's how we got to be here. And that's the metaphor, the little, artistic thing of describing that. And then the next scene is he's rumbling through the pile of bones, and the big monkeys come over to give him a hard time, and he picks up a femur and whacks the crap out of this guy and knocks him down and just keeps until he's a bloody mess. And he has gotten the most sexual, it's like doing every drug in the universe, and he is going nuts. And that's Homo sapien sapien. That's why we have wars. We get a kick out of it. We get adrenaline out of it. And when we aren't practicing the 5 tools, it's very easy to get, and you draft those kids. I mean, look in Africa, the children warriors, they get them at, 6 and have them blow their parents' brains out. And then they hand them an AK-47 and they go, obliterate little hamlets of people. Those kids are traumatized and controlled by that trauma and get off on it, and fed a further and further and further diet of this kind of violence. And that's what they, figured out in World War I and World War II. And they start out with the kind of Civil War, the Crimean War, Mr. Napoleon. They all kind of started to see, the human nature. And it's not, John always goes, human nature, we're bad, we're sinners, we want to do all this terrible stuff. No, we don't. Humans are actually naturally good. If humans weren't naturally good, we would have killed each other long time ago. But the majority of us can't do that stuff. We have to be controlled, manipulated, and that's why these little magic boxes were given to us, because they are downloading our consciousness in some server someplace. But there's a bigger server where our soul is. And I mean, the movie The Matrix, good. It really is a great metaphor to what's going on with us. We're somebody's ever-ready battery. You ever see a electron microscope picture of cell division or the fertilization of an embryo as a zygote? Every time that cell splits up, you see this electricity, all over the cell before and it kind of splits up, right? And that electricity is our mitochondria. And somebody is using that to power something on another dimension. And that's why, read Plato's treatise on Atlantis and the cave, because it kind of goes into a lot of this and what you should go, he talks about the people who you should go look at. And I wish these things wouldn't disappear before I could read them, but anyway, because I can barely see them. I'm only seeing with one eye. This other eye is doing other stuff. And like I said, I have to stay mindful, which means I can only do one thing at a time. I can only, breathe and talk, and if I have to read that, I have to breathe and read. And I have to control this side of my brain and this eye to be able to read it. I go have, because I have diabetes and neuropathy and other fun things, I'm always going seeing doctors, and they're always like doing procedures. I don't really take their medicines, but I let them do that because if I didn't, I couldn't see at all. So anyway, but so you can see my eye. You can see the difference of those two eyes. And that's happened over a good 30 years. So mindfulness is the key, kids. Not any book, any teacher, any church, any of the above. And when you start to get focused in magic, it's all, you have to serve somebody, and it's who are you serving, So back in the days of Enki and Zeus, but his Sumerian name wasn't Zeus, that's his Roman name. But they keep being the same guys. Like in Zeus, his brother, because they were brothers, was Poseidon. And one represents the snake and one represents the eagle. So which do you think is the good one and the bad one? Wrong. If you put it in the context of good and bad, the eagle has done way more bad things than the snake has. Snake's all about information. It's the esoteric, the occult. And what was that? So who was the snake in the Garden of Eden? Who gave the apple from the tree of knowledge? And what was that knowledge? Not of good and evil. They knew that already. The knowledge was of sex. Now, before this, they were reproduced in the lab, basically, and their, time warranty stamp was in the thousands of years. Look at Methuselah. Lived forever, right? So what Enki gave them was the knowledge of sex, how to reproduce, and so they would start, and boy, it was fun. So they started knocking off a bunch of little ones, and but those guys didn't last more than 30, 40 years. Because why was Enki doing that? Because he wanted our souls to ascend. He wanted them to ascend past the guys who made us. And so by making us basically fruit flies, instead of living 1,000 or millennial period, we only lived 30, 40 years. And so he wanted us to ascend, to get the heck out of this ugly bag of water. Stop being recycled avatars, and that are to set our souls free. And that's what love is. Love is the only thing that exists in this dimension. Everything else is a simulation. So
if you want to be a avatar or a person who is a adept, who is ascending, you have to have, you know, your state of existence being in a conscious state, being awake. You know, the story of Buddha standing by the side of the road, a traveler goes by and goes, wow. And he's looking at Buddha, and Buddha's like luminescent, vibrating, because he is conscious. He is awake. He is, you know, experiencing a mindful state of existence. So the kind of like John, the traveler. So what are you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, what are you? Hey, are you God? Buddha kind of goes, no. Well, the other guy, the traveler, goes, well, what are you? What are you, a magician? What are you, car salesman? What are you? And Buddha goes, no, I am awake. And if you want to have experience any of this, you have to be awake. And I want you to ask yourselves between now and 7:30, how many are you awake? How many are you awake? You know, who's awake? And I'm going to, let's see, stay on for another few minutes, and I will read Kundalini Yoga. Well, you know, that's a good tool, but it's not the beginning and end. I have one eye open. Well, okay. So are you an Illuminati? Is that it? You got the Eye of Horus? Awakened. Okay. Andrew, you're awakened. I hope so. No. Wow. Email L. I'm not an Illuminati. John W. says, keep coming. Let's see some more. I'm going to read these because now I'm focusing my eye on reading them. Let's see. Waking. Okay, that's good. Hey, well, I should check out Black Curse and blah, blah, blah. No awake. This is illusion. Yep, we are one light. Well, okay. You're Illuminati. That's the one light. There's one love. One light is okay. You know, it's a state of illumination. But if you just get stuck there, see, that's the problem with all these things. You can get stuck. Constant struggle of mindfulness. Yeah, it is a struggle. But breathing that 20% more and out 30% will give you a good hand. Let's see. Yeah, too bad. Didn't learn. Oh, come here. Well, it's something you learn all the time. It's not like take a class and you learn it. And the base metal you're trying to turn into gold is your lower chakras into your highest chakra of ascension. That's the gold you're going for. There's so much to learn. Yep, there is. Have grays come. Well, the grays have always been here. This planet is illusionary dream. Yep. Let's see. Please control. I should be stuff at the. Yep. Dude Awake. Yep. Anybody can get a hold of me at dudeawake42gmail.com. And like I said, I read it all. Takes me some time, and I respond to it all, and I do my best. Make closer anymore. Have you seen the shadow people? Yeah, I mean, the shadow people are us. We are, I mean, that's Plato's treatise on the cave. You know, the guys in the cave, the whole of the cave, just like this, is like behind him. The light of the real world, the illuminated world, is shining through the cave and putting a shadow onto the cave. And the guy looking at the shadow thinks the shadow is reality. And that's where we're at. We're in the cave, seeing the shadow, and we think the shadow is reality. So we are all the shadow people. Yep, a third eye. I guess, I mean, this is like two eyes in one. Ow. Ability to commune with spiritual realm. Well, how you do it is, I mean, that's part of karma. Being the best person you can be will bring up your harmony to the universe. So you can. You know, when you let yourself be the nasty one, which is so much easier than being nice. Nice, being, the ascending one takes humility. Who's got that? Patience. Not many people have that. I sure don't. I can. The line, that lady who talks to the deaf cashier, and they go on and on. And there's a line, and there's 6 people in front of you, and you want to get out of there. Yeah, these are little lessons that we all need to go through, and and that's why I help people. Why I'm involved in so many social things is that it helps me to be the better guy I can be. And I've had some amazing teachers my whole life. That's why I'm stepped out of the shadows to be a teacher again, because I haven't bumped into any of my old. I mean, I do in Dreamtime, and they're always saying, "Hey, you better do." So I'm back again, ready to bring the band together. Going to take the circus on the road. Yeah, Earth is basically a sandbox for our soul. So you shouldn't really get bent out or fretful or anxious or any of the above. We should just have a good time, extremely good time. And that's not sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Having a good time is hanging out with that old lady who nobody hangs out with. Being there for your friends that no one can stand. Not giving up on anyone or throwing anyone under the bus. A lot of people can throw you under the bus. Let's see, herbal medicine. No, the herbs are we were given them, and one of the best herbs there is cannabis sativa, and that's why, it can do everything. Food, fiber, fuel. The main reason why cannabis, it wasn't because some black guys were smoking it. You need to read the book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and the guy's name will pop into my mind. But the main reason was that the first internal combustion engine was made on alcohol made from hemp, because in Europe, where the engine was done, it was a weed, and it was like in a guy's farm. So he just plowed them up, crunched them up, turned it into alcohol, bingo. So Mr. Rockefeller and Mr. DuPont and Mr. Hearst did not want, all our paper were made out of hemp, all our rope made out of hemp. And in the Constitution, one of the major interesting rules was every farmer had to grow hemp. That was in the Constitution. The Constitution was written on hemp. And as a medicine, meaning if you have seizures, the one best medicine is GB from hemp, hemp oil, and not with THC, but the other ingredient. And it works better than any of the other pharmaceuticals, because those suckers have side effects, every time you watch a drug advertisement on, commercial, 80% of the thing is a non-disclosure agreement saying if you take this drug, you may die, you may, head might turn purple, might explode. If you take it under your, sorry boy, I'm sorry you died, but you can't sue me. You take anything from hemp, not so much. And it really, as a mood elevator, better than any psychoactive drug there is. And if, people who are paranoid, schizophrenic, any of those kind of things, a nice little cookie. I lived in states where you could buy those little cookies, and I was working with people and they were on a myriad of drugs, and which had side effects. And I had to deal with, what I do with John, I used to get paid $1,600 to $3,000 a week to take care of one person. Did the same thing, did all their laundry, got their stuff, went on, they were agoraphobic, couldn't leave the house. They couldn't go to the supermarket, they couldn't get their mail, they couldn't do anything, just like John. Like today, I took him out to a really nice place. There were a lot of young people his age who, it's the hipster hangout, and it has pretty good food. I hadn't eaten anything, so I wanted that. And There's John. That's not true. Well, everyone has their own reality, John. So basically, that's what we have to do. You have a good friend. Now, John's going to come here. You can see John.
I didn't see a single hipster anywhere.
They were all there. That girl with the purple hair.
One girl that got out of the car, she had NASA on her license plate, like her parents, or it was her car. That was the only thing she could do. It was like, and she got out of the car and had like some different color hair, like blue or bluish purple hair, and she looked.
But there were all young people there. There was those two nice girls who were sitting.
Voices saying this weird stuff that sounded interesting. She was the only one that sounded, but I didn't like go run after her. She walked on by and I was at the table, so it's like. But there's another girl sitting there. There was another girl sitting there that looked about 18 or 19, and she was so pretty. But she looked, well, very young, and looked like the type of girls. There's a lot of girls around here, younger, that they crunch up the pain pills and they sniff them. They crunch up pain pills and they sniff them. It's like OxyContin or something like that, or pain pills.
Yes, this city has a very large.
Do it. The young girl, like younger women, and she just, I got this.
Not just younger women, everybody. The medical model here has been so generous with OxyContin in the last 10 years that pretty much everyone's addicted.
I know someone older that does it, maybe, but
right.
He has a prescription.
Yeah. That's the legal drug dealers. So I had, with neuropathy, that's very painful in your legs, and I had these metal braces on my legs, so my legs were atrophying, and the doctor said, well, if your legs atrophy anymore, we're going to have to cut them off. So I said, well, I'm taking the braces off. And he goes, well, that's going to be awful pain. I said, yeah, okay. He goes, we'll have to give you, a morphine pump and 500 milligrams a day of OxyContin. I said, forget that, not going to do it. And
but
he goes,
all you had to do was lose the weight, lose 200 pounds or something. Or
well, I had already lost a good chunk of weight, but no, what I had to do was meditate every morning to put myself in a mindful state because all opiates do, they don't get rid of the pain, they distract you, they turn you into a zombie, so you don't even,
I think it's getting physically healthy, eating very healthy foods and drinking mostly water, very little high fructose
He's right. I was almost 500 pounds and I'm down to 230 now.
Very little additives, very little chemicals, all natural, all whole foods, real foods that they had back in the olden days when no one was really that fat.
There are many herbal things you can use. You're right.
They didn't have high fructose corn syrup, which makes you want more food. It's almost insatiable how that's why typically the Americans get so fat because their diet has the really heavy saturated fats, concentrated sugars.
Alkaline level is very important. If you can, instead of an acidic body, have an alkaline body.
Without all those additives and added sugar and chemicals and all that stuff, you'd get back to the natural, real foods, whether or not it's organic, just the real fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, meat if you want regular meat. Here and there, some salt, but not as much salt because that triggers back and forth with sweets and stuff. You can just eat very healthy, a lot of water. You can eat as much.
It's true. What everything John is saying is true.
As much of it as you want.
Yep, vegetables.
And you're not going to get like those typical really fat people out there. If you switch to that, you can literally, you got to get that stuff out of your system.
Yep, you have a base alkaline.
You don't want it anymore. You don't want the added sugar and all that, and then you're healthy.
And when I lost all that weight, I didn't want the cookies, I didn't want the cheeseburgers, I didn't go to fast food, which helped me more. And that's why I'm alive, But I still,
But you had cake, all sorts of stuff. You'd go to restaurants and
I'd have like 20,000 calorie meals, If you ever saw Mr. Creosote in The Meaning of Life, that was me, what I do after we do this, I go back and read all these things you guys say, and I try to mix them into the next one. So before we do the 7:30 show tonight, I'm going to go back and read all of these comments that you've been making and weave it in, because I've already kind of given you a primer of what we're going to talk about tonight. So, which is a good thing. You know, a good teacher gives you a primer, the 411 of what we're going to talk about. So between now and then, you guys can sit down, write out some like thoughts you may have, and so we can really have an interesting, because you know your chats have been way better today than they've almost ever been before. Yep. Never eat corn syrup. That's for sure. That's death.
No, not never. I mean, it's okay to have here and there, but
No, corn syrup. He's talking about corn syrup, processed corn syrup.
Oh, you can have it, whatever makes you happy. If you're able to be healthy somehow, if you like it. But that for some people it enables them to get very heavy.
Well, that's very true.
Natural way that
the ashram is the environment. It's the environment of protection. You know, so you learn, you study under the teacher, you get a thing that is. Any of you guys seen the movie Doctor Strange? That scene where he goes off into the east and tries to find the teacher will heal him so he can become the surgeon again, and he meets he's totally depressed. He's spent all his money, all his time, and he's going to turn into the bum on the street, and sits down next one, and there is one of the masters, and the guy takes him back to the ashram, which is right downtown. Go through this door, and it's like another dimension. And his teacher is this bald person who you can't figure out whether it's a guy or a girl, right? And has lived for friggin' ever. Well, I stayed at that ashram, right? And that's what an ashram is supposed to be. Your diet is controlled. Everything you do is controlled. You are there with a group of adepts just like you. And
Can I take him for a jog down to the waterfall?
Sure, and then turn it off.
All right.
Okay, kids, I'm going to see what you said. I'm going to look at it. And we'll see you tonight at 7:30.
I may come back.
Yeah, but turn it off. I'm not going to talk anymore.
You don't want to talk anymore?
No, till tonight. We'll come back tonight.
That was a funny angle. I lost a lot of weight. I'm going to go run since I can run really fast and stuff. So far, I've been working out for a couple weeks or so. Way more. What was your most memorable drug experience, Al? In the 60s when it was like kind of legal.
Basically.
Oh, can I tell the story of what?
No.
Can I tell one of your stories?
No.
Please.
No. They're my stories.
What about the one where you rolled down the hill at a hippie festival and there was a campsite here, a campsite here, and he was on acid and he rolled down and went, oh, woohoo, oh,
yeah. And my friend Garrett Beck and his girlfriend Joni Freedom.
Oh, sorry.
And they were boy and girlfriend for a number of years or months. Then they broke up, and just when they broke up, Joni went to visit a friend in Arizona, and the girl picked her up, and before she got to the airport, she was in a Ford Econoline van, and she had a flat. And she jacked the car up, took the wheel off, and put a new wheel on, and in that time, she lost all but one lug nut, right? And so she put the wheel on and put one lug nut on. And you had to be a real space cadet to lose lug nuts right there, but she did, except for one. And instead of going to the other wheels and taking one lug nut off and putting it on that wheel, she just had one lug nut. So she went to the airport, picked Joni up. They got back out on the expressway out into the desert. There was no one around, and the stress on that wheel, the lug nut snapped off. The wheel shot off, and Joni was sitting in the back. Not in a seat, but in the back of the Econoline, sitting on her suitcase, and the two people the one girl was strapped into her car, and the van rolled down the highway sideways like 20 times. And about the third time, the Econoline door opened up, Joni got shot out, and the door closed on her leg. And then the van rolled over on her 5 or 6 times. And luckily it didn't come to rest on top of her, but it rolled over on her. So she went to, and luckily, Joni, where
she wasn't in Arizona was where the Air Force had their Top Gun school for their fighter pilots, and those guys would fly into mountains. So they had a emergency medical facility top notch. So they took her there and they stuck her back together, and she was in what is known as a halo. These rings that have screws into her to hold her together. And so anyway, Joni was there, and Garrick called up my friend David, DB, and said, "Can you guys come over, and can Al do his healing magic on Joni?" I said, "Sure, it sounds like a fun. Yeah, I haven't been to Arizona in a while." So we fly in there. GB picks us up. We go to the hospital, and Joni's not being, like, understandably, she's like stuck together with all these pins. She's not a happy girl. And the doctor says to me, "So someone says you're a shaman, you can heal people magically." I said, "Well, it's, I'm a little more than that, and a little less than that. But yeah, I can help you guys out." So these guys let me do my thing. And like super duper anal retentive hospital, we don't believe in any of this hokey mystic stuff. And it wasn't even the days of it being around. And so they wanted her out of there. They couldn't stand her complaining, and she wasn't like a good patient. And so, we got her out of there. And we brought her back to New York, and she was still, she was no longer in halos, but she was in a wheelchair. She couldn't get around. And, but she wanted to go to the Rainbow Gathering. I think it was in Pennsylvania. And so Garrick had a school bus, and so it was his and Joni's school bus. So they rolled Joni into the school bus, and, Garrick said, please come and be her healer. And I said, "Okay, I'll come." So, Garrick had been telling me about Rainbow Gatherings forever. I used to go to the picnics in Central Park, and I had gone to a few of the early ones when it was still part of the Gaskin scene. See my eyes? See how, ooh, baby. So to read the, anyway, so I had experienced the rainbow, but I wasn't a rainbow guy. Anyway, so I show up there, and I'm, not camping out. I am staying with Garrick and Joni in the bus, in Bus Village. And I would go around and meet people and have fun, and the fun of the Rainbow Gathering is helping people. So I'm a great healer, great masseuse, meaning guys who are carrying water and logs and things like that. They're sore, and so I would just like, "Here, sit here." And I had a hammock that I would just tie up, and I had a little like massage, a mat, a yoga mat, and I would get underneath, and I would work under people. They would totally be relaxed on the hammock, and I would work shiatsu underneath them, and then I would do other cranial sacral, other things, and then do my more shamanic balancing. Anyway, so, and I was not a dummy. I would go, there were about 20 kitchens, there were about 9 really good kitchens, and I would go to those, and I would work on all the chefs, all the cooks, all the choppers, and I got fed first before anybody. At breakfast time, I didn't have to wait online. I would just go back there, and I would get a nice breakfast, and then I would kind of have my cup of coffee, and people would know, oh, this, I just hurt myself, so I'd adjust their shoulders, da-da-da-da. And there was a thing called CALM, Center for Alternative Living Medicine, and that was a cross between guys who were EMTs and nurses and doctors, and guys who tried to fix compound fractures with crystals, right? Anyway, so they started coming to me to, they were sore and hurt and needed some kind of assistance. Anyway, so, in that 1 week or so of taking care of Joni and everybody else, hey, I got a pretty good rep of that thing. So everybody kind of, would come for me.
Pretty healthy with the weight training.
Yeah, he is. And so, anyway, everyone would turn me on and give me gifts of things to share, of sacrament and such. And my body, as a shaman, I can't do drugs. I really can't do any drugs. And when I worked in rock and roll, I couldn't do any drugs. And so that's why.
Caffeine?
No, well, caffeine doesn't really bother me.
Caffeine works amazingly well.
Well, not,
well for the physical
I have 1 or 2 cups a day, if that, but it doesn't get me riled up. So anyway, I like my morning cup. It kind of takes that away. I can smoke a little boo,
but I'm really Mr. Moderation on everything, right? I don't drink any more than 2 glasses of whatever. I don't take anything else. I take no, like when I was at Duke, I had a little girlfriend who was brilliant, and she loved Quaaludes. She could do like 3 or 4 Quaaludes. She only weighed 90 pounds. She was only like 5'4", and I couldn't even take a tenth of a Quaalude. She'd always, oh, try this Quaalude.
That was when it wasn't really illegal.
But anyway, yeah, in those days, nothing was illegal. There was no schedule.
That's why Arnold Schwarzenegger did steroids.
Right. So anyway,
now they're really illegal.
So anyway,
I don't know if we want to get that strong, but I mean, they don't allow them.
Anyway, so that went on, and so like from around 3 to party time, which was sunset, I would, I'd already been nicely fed, so I didn't really have to go to dinner. I would go to dinner, but I wouldn't want to be, I wouldn't, because I have a little hypoglycemia, and if I don't eat, I can get a little, ow. So I'd be perfect. So whatever left over, and I already been fed in these kitchens, so I wasn't really, but I would go to dinner to talk to people and to find people who were a little sad and say, so what's wrong? Yay, come up. So it was really, I was getting to be, okay, I like these rainbow gatherings. Were okay. In Pennsylvania in 1980, whatever that was, early 80s, was really a really good gathering. It was very sweet and nice, and there wasn't, which they kind of turned into now. And the site was very nice. But I met this German, plant person, and she was doing boring on all the trees. And this forest looked perfectly healthy, great trees, big trees. And I started a conversation because she was a scientist, I'm a scientist, and I'm saying, so what are you doing? And she explained how this whole forest was where the first oil patch was, where Mr. Rockefeller made his first million or two in Pennsylvania. Go down 30, 40, 50 feet, the oil would be there, and it would just shoot up. I mean, it was like pretty, just scrape the dirt and you could find oil. So anyway, like West Virginia has that a lot too. So anyway, she told me that all of the trees were dead. I said, but they got leaves on them. She goes, that doesn't mean it's alive. It means the outside of the tree is alive, and nutrients are being pushed up to the limbs and pushing out plants for photosynthesis. But the tree is already dead. It's like a dead tree walking. And they'll blow down in a storm. And she was right. There were trees all over the place. And that's another reason why this site was a pretty good site, because there was a ton of firewood without having to chop down trees. It was everywhere. So anyway, so I would go from person to person who really had really interesting things. The people at Calm, there were a lot of, like a guy named Water was really great. There were a lot of great herbalists. And there were a lot of great doctors and nurses who were doing, because they loved doing their work without having to be in a hospital. And my job, basically I was the only shrink there. So I'd go around and just, how you doing? Somebody was really depressed, I'd sit and talk to them and bring them to a kitchen, because people who are depressed, the best thing you can do for their mental health is give them something fun to do. Make them feel part of something. And I used to treat people who were drug addicts, right? Forget, methadone is a drug called aldolphamine, developed by the Nazis. Once it gets in your bloodstream, once it gets up here, you are addicted to life. And you're either going to do opiates or you're going to do methadone. And that drug was designed to make zombies, because the Nazis didn't have enough people to do the really fucked up things they were doing. So they developed, the guys in the camps, they didn't have enough of those sick people to run those things. So they got these drugs. Wouldn't get you high, but if you didn't get your shot, man, you'd be climbing the wall. So that's pretty much pharmaceutical drugs. And the bottom line of drug addiction is you can get anyone to quit opiates, right? Especially opiates, heroin, things of that nature. You can get them physically off it, right? So, there's a 3 or 4 week, a month period where they feel like shit and are terrible, but once they're off it, physically they can be off it. Mentally, another story.
I know someone who got off of it, they took methadone, and then got off of it, and now she's okay and doesn't ever want it or.
Yeah, but I'm sure she's taking her methadone every day.
No, I don't believe. No, she's quit it.
Uh-huh.
For as far as I know.
Yeah, okay.
It,
Anyway, so
depending on your genetics, it can affect people differently, as does alcoholism. Some people are not genetically prone to becoming an alcoholic.
well, that's the thing. People have these opinions that are
I'm
beliefs.
not genetically prone to being an alcoholic.
No,
I just stopped drinking it. Like, I didn't have it. I nearly had it. I nearly never had alcohol all of last year. Here and there I'd have it, but I just was getting healthier. Then I went through a phase of 2 or 3 months recently where I was just eating whatever food I wanted, high fructose corn syrup, stuff like that, whatever I felt like. I just kind of got in a slump. It was the end of winter. It kept being colder and colder. And I was like, I'll just eat whatever I feel like. I stopped drinking caffeine.
What did caffeine do to you, John?
And it was awesome. It felt really good because I was finally eating whatever I felt like, and I was so healthy my body could take it. And I just like ate whatever I felt like.
That's true. Getting over the planet.
Alcohol here and there. Like, I'd have 3 or 4 beers or whatever, and then somehow I got my finances in order, and I don't have any worry really.
No, none of us do. We live in a land of abundance, where our lives are that of abundance, not scarcity.
I'm healthy. It's like I'm healthy over the past 2 weeks or so.
That's exactly what does to John.
Getting very healthy. I'm in shape again.
So tell me, John, what does caffeine do to you?
Well, the funny thing that you mention it is that sometimes it does nothing, except for, sometimes it has done nothing.
Doesn't it cause anxiety
when you so mentally and physically powerful, feeling I could do whatever I felt like. I could drink caffeine and go right to sleep. I had like a command over nearly anything I wanted to attain on life.
See you at 7:30.
I lived in a big 6-bedroom house all to myself. I had a beautiful girlfriend, all the worldly pleasures that were, I had these cool cars. I had a modified 350Z that I had painted for $4,200. I had a classic Cadillac. It's like I just got to do whatever I felt like and celebrate. I had a girlfriend who was younger, much younger, and I just got to party and do whatever I felt like. But I don't want to go into the reasons behind that. I had to work very hard and do these things before that. But it was like I just ate a lot of meat and lifted weights and gained even more muscle than I had ever had. But at one time I was a vegan. I was a vegan for many years, most of 14 years, and I got really strong as a vegan. I gained 40 pounds of muscle. So, just depends. You can, but I'm going to just go outside and stop, or talk to Al. We'll talk to Al some more, and you go out there. Tarzan. See if I can bring you to the waterfall. This is, everybody. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna walk past. I don't know what that smell is. It smells like a it smells different than it ever smelled. It's like a subtle hint of a paper mill from New Jersey that I've driven through before, like that used to smell. Now I don't know what that was. I've never smelt it here before. Maybe it's one of those, who knows? I think it went away. Wow. There's the neighbor's house. Goodness, I wish they were and I could film them every time they visited, or I visited them. Maybe when they visit me. That's an awesome log cabin. The people that built this neighborhood built that. Yeah, I want to exercise a lot. I started drinking caffeine again, and it doesn't affect my mind in a negative way at all. It's just really private. Miles was back. Hardly ever at. Here's the waterfall. Okay, later, John W. Here's the shot that I did the other day. We could get, if this battery was doing all right. Yeah. Herbs to heal, Jennifer K, yay. Okay. Whoa. Okay, I'm gonna go. I might take you somewhere new. I've never shown in my videos that Alex, or my next door neighbor, just showed me. He showed me the other day. I'm gonna go down there. This battery should last. I'm gonna jog down there. Somewhere new. Whoa. Good gosh. I've been exercising all day, other than when we went out in the car. I feel amazing. I built up to it over a few weeks. Steadily started eating healthier food. Whoa. This is gonna be awesome. Okay. Whoa, gosh. Holy gosh. Okay. That's all right. I'm not gonna turn it off. This is awesome. Hey. Oh God. This is not my property, but Al, something or another, he doesn't mind if I visit the neighbor. I know him, I'm friends with him. I wave to him. Here's the place. This was built by the old Europeans that passed away, that started this whole neighborhood. This was the first one they built. There's some old thing. It's beautiful out here. You can, oh man, it's getting warm weather again. This is awesome. It's up here in the mountain. Look at this. Oh gosh, so beautiful. Whoa. Whoa. I don't want to film his thing. Unless he's okay with it now. I just wanted to show you this old, look at this. Looks like straight out of old Europe. 400 years old looking. This was the first, oh my gosh, a tiny ladybug landed on my hand. A tiny ladybug. I got cut. My hands are kind of dry. Oh. Look at this old European looking 400-year-old building. But they built it in the 50s. They moved here from Europe. Look at this. This is amazing. My friend Alex showed it to me. Gotta be careful in here. Looks like an old style European building. Farm building or something. Wow. Oh my gosh. Whoa. Hey, how's it going? I'm gonna turn the video off. I'm gonna stop the video. Whoa, look at that. Whoa, whoa, no. Yeah. Al stays at different places. I have never been here. What is this? I don't even know if I'm supposed to go there. I'm gonna get out of here. But I walked with my neighbor through here. This was interesting, beautiful. This old world farm building that the people that came over from Europe who built this whole neighborhood. Yeah, that's the first one they built before they built the rest of the houses and stuff. That's amazing over there. I'll just turn. I'm gonna go. Oh, it's got 20. Oh no, I don't have to go. I'm gonna go up here. 20% battery left. Tie my shoe. Oh my gosh, what was that? Oh, some moth or something, I don't know. Hi, gotta tie my shoe. Hey, how's it going? Hi. Hi. Oh. Yeah. Hey. Whoa. I couldn't read what the thing said. Somebody said. Wow, well, this is really beautiful. I can show you. Let me go back up to the house. Gosh, look how beautiful that is. I can't help it. I'm afraid to. I don't want to film him if he doesn't want me filming him. Just jogging through. Oh, gosh, he's starting his tractor up. They're gonna. Good gosh. There's somebody else's house. Anyway, so I got it. There's a walking stick. Some people find really interesting sticks. That's a tennis court, where I have heard, I don't know if it's true, that the builders of this house, when they were the only ones back here on a private road, they'd play tennis naked. So that could be, I don't know, that's could be fixed, but that's like going, that's a lot of work. I don't know who owns that one. There's different neighbors here that own stuff. Later. Whoa. My hair's turned into something. Whoa. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, man. I'm going to show you the Oompa-Loomps. The Oompa-Loomps put these rocks here. I literally do not know how they got here, and I was told the Oompa-Loomps did it. They stack up the rocks, and it creates this piece. I used to feel it. Haven't thought about it. I'm just supposed to. Haven't thought about it. And somebody, the Oompa-Loomps, I was told the Oompa-Loomps stacked up those rocks. Whoa, this is amazing. Literally, this is good exercise. Being out here, if somebody wants to be a roommate or just visit, somebody wants to visit, I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna turn this off. Okay, bye everybody. Bye. See you later. Hey. Bye, Jennifer K. Just resist the FEMA camps. Bye, Lorraine Ziolek. Bye, everybody. Bye, Jane Jones. Okay. See y'all later. Gosh, dude, film Owl's balls. Oh, no, that's horrible. Going back to see Owl's balls by myself.